Today is 0717 at 5:30 p.m. and we are going to talk about loss. So, for many of you have seen that I haven't been online for quite a while. Um, I've been more reserved in dealing with the loss of our daughter, Riley Rain Davis. 2/24/25, Riley gave us the beautiful gift of life itself, and on 6/20, she has moved on to serve a higher purpose. We do ask for prayers because watching her pass away once was traumatizing in itself, but this will be the second and final time. This has been an ongoing daily battle for just 4 days short of 4 months straight for our family. Riley had two main challenges. She was born with a floppy, also known as a weak airway, which gave her difficulties breathing, sucking, and swallowing. She also had a small hole in the right ventricle of her heart, which is common and they say it closes over time, which did occasionally cause some unexpected heart rate dips. She was considered a complex child. Since birth, she had only gotten stronger every single day in all areas because of her parents that relentlessly advocated and fought back tooth and nail for Riley when we were presented with difficult tasks and obstacles in regard to misinformation, test results, and staff at a particular hospital. It turns out that a lot of hospital staff do not have their own children, so when we come from it as a parenting standpoint, they don't understand why we are so forthcoming and presenting data in itself, which you would think most people would accurately go off of that instead of just a hunch or a guess, right? So the message in that is advocate for your children in all areas of life. And just to give an example of that, um, there were inaccurate test results that were coming to surface, which then they used to articulate their next move without getting the accurate test results that they needed. So basically, they're going off of hunches and guesses without actual facts that prove XYZ is going on, or we need to take the next step because XYZ is happening. There was always a misinformation, miscommunication. Everyone has different opinions in regard to, doctors to surgeons to so on, but they can't come up with an exact plan. Okay, what path are we taking? Just to give you guys a summarized roundup of that. We took her home on a Monday, and prior to us taking her home, we explained that we did not want to fail discharge because of the heart rate drops, the oxygen drops. We didn't feel it was necessary for her to come home at that time because we're not nurses and doctors. So, what are we to do if this drops again in the 60s or below? And so far, sure, it has been self correcting. However, what if it's not? Like, what do we deem as an emergency as parents before we go take her back into the hospital and we're back in here 24 to 48 hours and we just got released? So we didn't feel comfortable with all of that. And they gave us um, really no say in it at all. They said, well, she's pretty much medically cleared, so you need to take her home. Otherwise, insurance is not paying for her to stay here. And we found different programs. We tried to set up in home nursing, but that time span could take minimally 1 week because you have interviews, you have to go through the process with the state, you have to get approved for it because of the way that the structure and everything works. It's going to take some time, which time was not on our side based on them pushing us for her to be discharged. We took her home on a Monday, even though we told them she isn't ready and we do not want to fail discharge. We had no training, no in home nursing, no trouble experience or say in the matter. We stayed up almost a week straight, me and my wife taking turns with alarms, oxygen saturation drops, and trying our best to survive until we were able to get in home care. She was doing great until around Friday, 4 to 5 days later, around 2:30 a.m., where the oxygen drop events started becoming more frequent. We didn't know if it was false readings on the equipment or just her experiencing self correcting common drops that we experienced in the hospital all of this time. We got answers that the equipment was working on Saturday evening, and the saturation drops were still occurring now every 45 minutes versus a couple times randomly throughout the day, regardless of how much I cranked up her oxygen incrementally at this point. So, just to give you guys that picture, she had a pulse reader that goes around her foot that reads her oxygen and heart rate. She also had um, an oxygen tube, which is a nasal cannula hooked up to another machine that produces oxygen from taking in the air inside the home. A concentrator is what they call it. And then she also had a feeding tube. So all of these things were attached to her at all times, right? So you, just like I, would think, well, she needs a higher level of care. This is like someone needs to stay up with her 24 hours a day to make sure that she's getting everything that she needs. Hence, the nurses or some alternative that helps us out as parents. Her oxygen saturations kept dropping, and they were dropping even faster. So we called the hospitals and asked if it was deemed an emergency or not, and they said to take her in just to be sure, but otherwise no, due to her history. After loading her in the car seat and walking her to the car and clicking her into her secured base, I grabbed her oxygen tank and monitor from the floor. As I looked back up, and she was purple from her head to her chest and rapidly moving to the lower half of her body. I performed CPR in the trunk of the car immediately while Tori, my wife, jumped in and called first responders. I called Riley's name multiple times and there was no response. She was lifeless from that point for a duration of 75 minutes before she was resuscitated by emergency services. After getting her vitals stable, she was transferred to CHOP, which is the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. They were by far the most amazing, caring, transparent, kind, empathetic, and most well trained hospital that we've ever visited. I would go to say that they would be my number one pick across the United States, hands down. They cared and supported our family in more ways than we could ask for, and they even stayed late because they wanted to help us and Riley by any means that they could. So to them, this was their chance to make a difference, and this is what they signed up for as their profession and their career. And they acted without question. Despite their unwavering support, efforts, and determination, Riley had suffered a severe injury to her brain due to the lack of oxygen in blood for that sustained period of time. Thanks to our heroic actions and efforts, she was on 100% support from a ventilator, but however, with testing confirmed that she will be no longer neurologically responsive for the remainder of her life. So, we have decided to give other babies a chance at life, and we were able to find recipients for her organ donation. In the future, which is what we're going to be working on, we will be hosting a walk run event open to all age ranges and all walks of life so that anyone can participate. Right now, we're thinking of calling it Riley's Run, because Riley has showed us that no matter how difficult things get, to keep fighting. She fought to come home. She passed. We brought her back, and she fought again to stay alive at 3 months of age until God said it was her time. What I am happy for is that all of the training and experience I have for saving lives paid off to give Riley that second chance. However, I am more proud of my wife. You helped me make that call through your frantic words, responding to 911 questioning, rapid breathing, racing thoughts, and uncontrollable tears. And our exchanged look that the reality had set in. You are just as much a hero in my eyes as I am. And thank you all for your prayers from her birth until this moment. And as I've said before, Riley Rain, the world will know your name.